Hey everybody, welcome back. I know I talked briefly about me working in law enforcement. I didn't really get into too much detail about it, but I'll tell you the reasons why I got into it, what it was like when I got into it, and if I do it again. Stand by. So, brief history, I got out of the Navy, active duty, came back to California, was working odd jobs. I could have easily collected unemployment because at the time, I was unemployed. But I decided that I wanted to go into a career of law enforcement. My thought process behind it was I was already in the military, had been used to the structure, used to the rank structure, the accountability, the reliability, things of that nature, sense of justice, I guess. But my motivating factor was I had a young family to take care of. I could have gone any route. I could have continued to work odd jobs, but while I was working those odd jobs and paying the bills, some of the things I was doing was I was applying for local law enforcement agencies, either state or local. And, my family, my father had been a deputy for a county out here. And so I kind of grew up around it. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I was used to the type of environment. I figured I'd be okay with the work. And I was. I applied for many different jobs. Several came up at the same time. I chose one. And I always had this intention of going and working the streets. Well, sometimes life doesn't work out that way. I remember going to a California Highway Patrol recruitment. And we sat in the big auditorium, hundreds of potential recruits, and we were taking tests, and this time we're taking a lecture from some CHP recruiters, and they're saying, hey, when you go to a barbecue, what do you go for? Do you go for the chicken? You go for the tri-tip? You go for the hot dogs? And I remember him saying, and I wasn't doing this at the time, but I remember him saying, who would choose a hot dog when you could, choose prime rib, or you could choose the steak? Well, he is obviously referring to the CHP as a steak at the barbecue, cream of the crop. That's what you want to do. And I remember him asking, is anyone here in corrections? And no one raised their hand. And he says, good, because you're the hot dog. It always stuck in my head. One of the things that I really remember and taken away from that, now I failed the color vision test. Couldn't go work for the CHP, and I was actually going to have difficulty throughout my career working as a deputy or a police officer because of the color vision requirement. I know there's waivers and you could do things to make it happen. Like I said, I had a family I wanted to take care of and things I needed to get done. Eventually got hired on as a correctional officer for a local county, and that means you're just working at the county jail. Fast forward, I did that for 24 years, retiring recently. It was a very interesting, rewarding, scary, and unappealing job at the same time, but something that if you work with people in that type of work, you bond with them, and you can laugh at the dark stuff. Now, military, all that stuff kind of translated over to the dark humor that you'd have working long hours, getting to know people. So I enjoyed the camaraderie about it. There are several things I did not like about it, and that was you see people at their very worst. You see your coworkers become people that you never thought they would be. You see people that are incarcerated at their very worst. But there's also acts of kindness and humanity. One thing that I've always taken away from that career, and I'd never go back, by the way, I've taken away from that career is honestly treat people the way you want to be treated. Now, there are some people that they only respond to force. They only respond to violence in their life. You've got to understand that. And while you're not going to make friends with individuals, your actions really go a long way to proving what kind of person you are. You don't have to agree with what someone's in jail for. You don't have to agree with what they did, what they're convicted of, what they're accused of doing. But you have to treat people with dignity and respect, even at their worst, even if they are not a nice person, even if they threaten to kill you, or they want to cause bodily harm to you, or they want to hurt your family. I could do hours of this talking about it, but that was my biggest takeaway. It was 95% mental. Being able to communicate with people is huge. And I don't think a lot of people that I worked with really understood that. They would puff out, they'd be badge heavy, they would, use intimidation to control people. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's as simple as talking to people and being firm, but most importantly, being fair. The 5% physical usually came at the time when they were first coming into custody, or if they were just, mentally ill. A lot of the mentally ill in this state, they don't go to hospitals, they don't go for evaluations, they go to jail. And they sit in jail for months waiting for the courts to figure it out. It's a sad state of affairs. My whole takeaway from it, you treat people the way that you would want to be treated in the same circumstances. You give them what they're entitled to. I've had honest conversations with people that are incarcerated, and I've always kind of been myself. I have a lot of humor. I'll talk shit, but I'll do it in a respectful way. I've had zero problems outside of a facility with any of the former inmates or people on probation or parole, just because they'll see me and they'll say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'll talk to them and they'll tell me how they're doing. Because and I got feedback from this, and I got feedback from the people that I used to work with. I'm fair. I treat everyone the same. I don't give preferential treatment to other people. I think that's really what's important, at least at the county level, when it comes to working in corrections. State level, I'm sorry, I can't help you. State of California, that is a completely different beast. I think you have to, and I found out too, I had more to worry about for my coworkers and the dirt that they would do, and the administration and the dirt that they would do, versus the people that are incarcerated. There's a level of understanding between someone that has the power in a facility and in a housing unit versus the person that's incarcerated. They know what they're entitled to. They know what disrespect is. They know what respect is. Some people were never able to earn that type of respect. So before you go and you want to go work in a county jail, do you have the mentality for it? Yes, you can learn all the stuff and learn all the rules and regulations and enforce everything. Do you have the mentality to work around convicted, semi-convicted, still going to court criminals, career arrests? Can you deal with that without having someone to have to back you up when it's you and 75 inmates, 76 inmates in a housing unit and you're the only officer? You got to learn to talk to people. I think a lot of these kids nowadays are not really in that space where they can do that. So just some thoughts on it. I have some more ideas. Maybe I'll bring them up in a different video. You want to go into that career? I wouldn't do it now. Things have changed. Not so much the inmates, but the staff. The mentality of the staff has changed. The generations growing up, they don't like to work. That's not true for everyone in the generation. I got children in this new generation, but it's not the same as it was. you have any questions on this, if you like this type of content, let me know, and might do another episode on this, because I find it's I have a lot of stored up knowledge, and I want to be able to share it with people. See if that's a career you want to go into, or just some war stories. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.